I go through so many of these bags of seed starting mix at about $5 a bag. As so often happens, I think Google was listening when I talked about how much seed mix cost. Into my feed popped this recipe for potting mix from the Garden Betty website. I rounded up supplies, some from Tractor Supply, some I ordered online from Amazon. But I gathered peat moss, vermiculite, perlite, and a manure mix, which I use in place of compost. I'm going to use this old ice cream bucket to create my seed starting mix. This will be how I measure each part. So for example, it calls for 4 parts of peat sphagnum moss. I'll use this to measure out 4, and so on. So this is 1 part peat moss, and it takes a little while to get it out of that compressed cube, but I'm going to add this to my bucket, and I need 3 more parts of peat moss for this recipe. That's 2 parts peat moss. 3 parts peat moss. 4 parts peat moss. Okay, that makes 2 parts compost. I'm wondering if my bucket's going to be big enough. 1 part perlite. Now 1 part of vermiculite. And now, since I'm almost to the top of my container, I'm going to have to very carefully mix all this together. And I'll come back and show you when I get it all mixed. I had enough remaining materials to make several more batches of this seed starting mix, as well as plenty to add to my garden beds. So this is my finished product, my seed starting mix, and you can see that this container is probably equivalent to 4 or 5 of those seed mix bags, so you can tell that it would be really cost effective. It's a beautiful mix. The recipe says that it's a potting mix, but in the article, in the blog post, she talks about seed mix. So if you want to see the cost breakdown, refer to the Garden Betty website. I put a link to that in the recipe description. You'll see that at the top of that recipe, gardenbetty.com, and you can find the seed starting mix. But she breaks down the cost, and she tells how cheap it is by comparison to the bags. I hope you enjoyed this video on seed starting mix. I think this was a fun project, and I will do this from now on. I can't imagine going back to buying the little bags. If you give this mix a try, or if you've tried another mix similar to this, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for visiting Southwest Homestead.